Hey everybody, I'm Colin.
I'm Autumn.
And welcome back to Building Together. I'm excited to bring you a brand new series. It's called What Makes This Lego Set Great. Now, I had a lot of sets when I was a kid, and I liked them, but I oftentimes wondered if they were really classics. And you've got quite a few sets too, don't you? You ever wonder if they're really great?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I thought I could put together a system, a way to determine which Lego sets were great. So what I did is I went to brickset.com, which is a website that catalogs every single set that they can find, and people have an opportunity to review it. That's right, that's thousands upon thousands of sets. And so what I did is I looked through it to determine which sets have a rating of 4.5 stars out of 5 or better. And so all those sets I considered to be great. Now, I'm an educator, right? So to me, that's a 4.5 out of 5 is like a 90%. That's an A or A minus. So I figured if you can get an A or A minus, you're doing pretty good. Now, there's one other requirement that I wanted to add to this, that the set had to be out at least for 5 years. I didn't want to be able to just go to the store, pick out a set that was currently available and say, hey, it's great, let's go ahead and make it part of the series. I think it needs to have some staying power. So that's what we've done. So all the sets that you see in this series are sets that have a 4.5 out of 5 on brickset.com or higher and have been out for at least 5 years. And we're talking about Castle, Pirates, Star Wars, Harry Potter, Classic Town and Space, and all these different themes. And even Lord of the Rings.
Daddy has a lot of the sets.
And some of them are great. Some of them, not so much. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to...
the Hobbit hole.
The Hobbit hole? You know what? That's actually one of those that's going to be coming up in a later video, because guess what? That's a great set.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. But it's not for our first one, though, right? In fact, can you show us what we're doing for our very first What Makes This Lego Set Great? What?
It's a weird-looking box.
Well, that's because it's all smushed up. But it went like this. And this is the Black Falcon's Fortress.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah.
Can we build it now?
Well, in just a moment, I'm going to tell people a little bit about it and give some overview of what makes it great. And then we're going to start building it, okay?
Okay.
All right. So this is set number 6074. It came out back in 1986. That was a long time ago. In fact, I was really, really young when it came out. Now, I didn't get it right when it came out. And it was the second of 3 castles that had Black Falcons. Now, the Black Falcons are one of the most popular themes in castle history. Why do I know that? Well, because there have been a couple of sets that came out over the last 5 to 10 years that include an updated version of these minifigs. One in the Kingdom's Joust, and then some minifigs in the medieval blacksmith that just came out a couple of months ago. So this one came out in 1986, as I said, and it has 435 pieces. Now, this is about 50 pieces bigger than the one that came out before it. Back in 1984, set number 6073, the Knight's Castle came out. And this one was bigger. I also think it was more creative. In fact, you can see it's a kind of different looking castle than what you may see from a lot of other Lego sets. Now, it also came with 6 minifigs, which I think was pretty cool. And we're going to build the minifigs and talk more about those in just a little bit.
I'm building the minifigs.
You're building the minifigs?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, deal. All right. Now, for those of you wondering, one thing that I always loved about the old sets comes with the back of the box that lists other ideas for you to build with the same pieces that come with the set. And there's some pretty cool gigs. That's a pretty cool one right there, yeah. I always liked this one right here. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to build it, and as we build it, I'm going to interject at various spots to talk about different building techniques or pieces that stand out that make this set great.
let's talk a little bit about the minifigs. Now 6 of them came in this set, and you can see on the right there are 2 knights. The 2 knights come with horses, and the horses, which first came out in 1984, weren't really changed all that much throughout the 1980s, 90s, and 2000s. I will note that the saddles that they are sitting in only have 1 clip, rather than ones that came out a little bit later on that have a clip on either side. Finally, I'll note that the plumes that they're wearing in their helmets came on a sprue, where you'd have a small, medium, and large plume on that sprue. But to me, the real attraction are these torsos. There's 4 Black Falcons torsos in the set, and if you look at all of the Black Falcons soldiers from 1984 to 1992, there's a total of 23, so this comes with a pretty decent percentage of those torsos. Now, as I mentioned, there's other sets that came out that have these Black Falcons knights in them, such as the Kingdom's Joust and the Medieval Blacksmith this year. So it's a popular faction, and it's one that people are interested in collecting, and this set came out with a really good number of torsos.
So now here we are, we're on step 8 of the set, and Autumn, what do you notice about how we're building this right now? What are we building it on?
Green platform.
Green plates. A lot of the castles back in the 1980s were built on either base plates, or they were built on these plates, like normal 2x3 or 2x4, 2x8 plates. So this is a technique that was used in a couple of other sets, like the Knight's Castle from 1984, as well as the Guarded Inn that came out also in 1986, the same year as this one.
It also looks more realistic as it's like built on the grass.
Like it's built on the grass. Now another interesting thing as we get through step 8 here is that you can start to see we're putting in some architectural detailing. We've got these nice circles right here that allow us to add some detail as opposed to just a flat wall, as you can kind of see in the back right here.
And these hinges actually help with the texture a little bit since they're bumps. I almost pinched my finger.
Gotta be careful with that, huh? Now this set, when it was built on base plates, was designed to be connected with a set that came out in 1987, the Battering Ram set. Part of that set included a little castle extension that you could include with this. So a lot of these sets from the 1980s were designed to be modular, so that you could put a bunch of different castles together in different configurations.
And then make it a huge castle.
That's right.
We had multiple entrances.
With multiple entrances. Let's keep building.
Where's the entrance to this?
We haven't gotten that far yet. But let's keep building because we might find something else that's interesting. Okay?
Like the yellow window?
We'll get there soon. Stay tuned. We are just completing steps 10 and 11, and I'm going to call your attention to, I think, one of the coolest features of this set, because it's the first set that came out with this yellow Tudor window. Now in 1986, the Guarded Inn also had red Tudor windows, but this was the first set that came out with this yellow Tudor window, and in fact, it didn't make an appearance again until 6 years later, in 1992, in the Black Knight's Castle, which came with 2 of them. So this is a really cool feature here that I really was attracted to when I first saw the set, and it's definitely something that makes the set memorable. So we have now finished the first part of the Black Falcon's castle, and it's really incredible. This is one of those sets that is unique because it's asymmetric. A lot of the castles, like the King's Castle in 1984, as well as the Black Monarch's Castle that came out a couple years after that, were very symmetrical. This one, because of this back room right here, you can kind of see a bit of hallway here, it's asymmetrical. Another important thing about it is some of the detail right here by the roof. Notice we put a jumper plate followed by a circle, and then we put a 1x2 plate in the circle, which is a nice building technique. One that I had never seen before, of course, until I got this set. Now, a couple of other important notes to this is the roofing technique. I learned how to build roofs from the set, in part because it's really sturdy, and yeah?
It has a chimney, which I didn't know fortresses could have a chimney.
Well, they had to have fireplaces to stay warm, didn't they?
They do? I thought
Yeah.
they just went there to prepare for battle.
No, they kind of live there. Now, a couple of other important things are these double slopes that are peaking the roof right here. They were pretty rare, and they only came out in a couple of basic sets, so universal building sets that came out at the time. And these convex pieces right here that are double-sided and black, these slopes, first time they made an appearance here in the Black Falcon's fortress. So some really, really cool pieces, some really cool building techniques, pieces that at the time in 1986 were pretty rare, and some great techniques that were different from a lot of the other sets, even the castle sets of the era. We are finished up with step number 23, and you really enjoyed building the drawbridge, didn't you?
It's going, oh no, we got smashed.
Building the drawbridge was kind of fun. It's something that's not terribly unique to this set, although all drawbridge designs that come in LEGO castles are a little bit different from one another. What I think is really interesting are these arches right here in the 1x4 by 1x5 by 4. They are gray versions of these right here. Now, this is the first year that these arches came out, and this is the first set to have them in both light gray and, we'll come to them later on, in yellow. So that's a really cool feature for this set. Also, this set, in terms of arches, was the first to include these 1x6 arches in gray. Another interesting thing about the arches is these 1x3 arches. Second time that these came in light gray, the first time in the Knight's Castle, but a lot come in this set right here, so it's a great parts pack for arches. Another interesting tidbit for this set in terms of pieces is this 2x16 plate in green. It's the third time, see that long piece right there? It's the third time that a 2x16 in green appeared. The first time being in, I think, the airport, and then maybe the Knight's Castle as well. So not too many times that this piece had been out before this one. In fact, overall, it's only been in 20 different sets. So it's a unique piece to this set as well. All right, we're going to keep building. We'll check back in a little bit later. checking back in, we just finished up through step number 31 and a couple of other features that I think are really cool that make this set great. The first are these corner panels right here. This is the first time these panels came in any set and really revolutionized how you could build castle towers. Before then, all you had were these wall panels that you can see across the back here. Now this set comes with the third highest total number of these wall panels. It comes with 9, which comes after the Knight's Castle and the King's Castle, both of which came out in 1984. But these corner panels, it's the first time these came out, and it's the most that ever came out in light gray. So it was really a great set if you were trying to get your hands on a great way to build castle towers. It comes with 10 of these panels as well as 2 of these printed, so a total of 12. Now, as I noted earlier, the 1x5x4 arch in light gray, first time it came out in that color, also the yellow. One of the cool things about the Black Falcon's faction is that the Knight's Castle in 1984 and this castle here, 1986, come with archways over the drawbridge that are different than gray. All the other sets had either gray or black archways, but red for the Knight's Castle in 1984 and yellow for this one here, which I think did a nice job of approximating some of the color variants that happened in castles over across the Atlantic Ocean. We are done now with the Black Falcon's Fortress, and it's been a long time since I've built the set. It was a lot of fun putting it together, especially building it with Autumn, and I want to give a couple of final thoughts. The first thing I want to say is that the castle itself isn't large, but it still is a pretty impressive build. At 435 pieces, it's not something that's going to take a long time, but it is something that feels pretty substantial when you're done with it. One of the things that helps it make it feels substantial is that you can open it up with these hinges right here. As I mentioned earlier, you can take a lot of these sets that were created in the 1980s, the castle sets, and arrange them in different ways. Well, one way you can do that is by using the hinges to open them up, as well as these Technic pins down here and Technic bricks here to join them with other sets. Now, on the inside of this castle, there's not a whole lot of detail, but there are a couple of nice things, like this tower right here. I think is a really fun build and makes it unique from a lot of other sets. Also, you can see all the different archways and the levels here on these front towers. I think that's pretty cool, pretty customary for castles, but still I think the way that they did it was really neat. Now, there were a couple of things that building it now stood out to me that I thought were kind of awkward. For instance, over here you use 1x2 plates underneath of these platforms by the battlements. And there are some other spots, like on these yellow arches, where there's a little bit of a gap, at least if you're looking at it from this way. By and large, though, this was a set that was a lot of fun to build when I was young. It was a lot of fun to build today. It has a lot of great minifigures. It has a lot of interesting building techniques, an amazing assortment of pieces, a lot of 1x1 and 1x2 bricks, some great wall panels, if you like those. I know as a kid I did. Today, not so much. But the corner panels are a great addition to any castle builder's piece collection. And of course, 2 knights with 6 minifigs is a great addition. And I wanted to mention this flag right here as kind of the coup de grace of the set. Not only does it come with the yellow window and the yellow arches, but this flag, it's the only set that this came in, and it's really expensive on Bricklink to find them. In fact, the only other time a flag like that came out was when this set was re-released in the early 2000s. However, they changed the design on this flag subtly so that it's more pointed at the bottom rather than rounded as it is right here. So the flags, I think, are an interesting addition, kind of the cherry on top of the sundae here, if you will, for making this set an absolutely great bargain when it came out, worthy of a re-release in the early 2000s, and I think is a great reason as for why you see the Black Falcons faction represented in 2009 and 10 in some minifigure sets and magnets, as well as in other sets in 2012 and even this year in 2021. Well, that wraps up our first What Makes This Lego Set Great video. I hope you enjoyed it. I look forward to doing the next one. Make sure you tune back in, and always remember, keep building together.